Hi, movie recaps here today. I'm going to explain a horror suspense movie called Time Cut. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The movie opens in a small town named Sweetly, where some local students are throwing a party in an old barn. It is April 16, 2003, and a serial killer has recently murdered 3 students, Val, Ryan, and Emmy. None of the youngsters gathered seemed to be affected by these events, except for high school senior Summer. He was close to all 3 of the victims, especially Emmy, thankfully. Summer is soon joined by her childhood friend Quinn, who empathizes with her loss. He also tries to hand her a red envelope, but their conversation is interrupted by her ex-boyfriend inside the bar, and the party is in full and everyone is having a jolly good time. Summer, on the other hand, wonders how anyone can have fun after such a tragic event. Simple teenagers are sociopaths. The night gets even worse when her ex-boyfriend spills a drink on her top. She angrily stares at him. "I can deal with dead friends, but this was $20, Roger," and then heads towards the bathroom to clean up. Unbeknownst to anyone, the serial killer, now being dubbed as the Sweetly Slasher, has infiltrated the place. Just then a police patrol arrives at the party and forces the youngsters to return home. Summer, who has no idea about this, is still in the bathroom suddenly. The Sweetly Slasher pops up right behind her with a knife. Summer manages to dodge his initial attack and runs away for her life. All of her friends are now gone and there is no one to help her. She rushes to a shed right next to the bar, with the serial killer hot on her heels. However, as she tries to hide behind a haystack, her belt jingles, alerting the killer. Summer makes a dash for it, but she is unfortunately caught and murdered. Exactly 21 years later, in the present day, Summer's younger sister Lucy gears up for her memorial service. She reveals how the Sweetly Slasher, whose name really needs work and who went on a 3-day killing spree, has never been caught. The whole town was affected by these horrific murders, and it feels like the entire place is still stuck in 2003. Lucy's parents also have never moved on and only conceived her just to fill the gap left by Summer. Later that day, Lucy enters her sister's room, which her parents have kept exactly as it was 21 years ago. She walks around looking at photographs of Summer, when she suddenly hears a creak in the floorboard. She lifts up a panel and discovers several letters hidden beneath. Lucy casually picks one out and reads its contents. To her surprise, it warns Summer that she's going to regret something, and it has been signed by a person named 3. Later at breakfast, Lucy reveals that she has secured a 3-month summer internship in Washington, D.C. Her overprotective parents, however, don't seem very happy to hear this. Dad even suggests that she work at his company Sonner, which is working on some groundbreaking technology. Although Lucy is incensed, chooses not to discuss the matter further. Today is Summer's death anniversary. Soon afterwards, the family visits the infamous barn, where a memorial is dedicated to Summer. Her parents leave some gifts for her and ask Lucy if she has brought anything, as well afraid she would look insensitive. Lucy lies that she forgot her gift in the car. She then gets a little further away and tries to remove her necklace so she can give it as a gift. She'd be coming back for it later though. However, she suddenly hears a loud noise, followed by a bright light coming from a nearby shed. Lucy immediately heads down, only to find a strange machine making a loud beeping sound. She tries to have a closer look, but accidentally touches the machine's screen. The timer is now set to April 16, 2003, and seconds later, 2 sharp lasers emit out of the machine. These intense beams of energy hit each other, creating a rip in space and time. Before Lucy knows what's happening, she is engulfed in this rip, but everything seems to return to normal after a while. Confused, she exits the shed, but notices that her sister's memorial is missing, and her parents are nowhere to be seen. Lucy tries to call them but realizes that her phone has no network. Spooked out, she heads towards the town center, which also appears to be teeming with new businesses. This is when she spots a banner and realizes that today's date is April 16, 2003. Later, a confused Lucy heads to her school, Sweetly High, to have a chat with her science teacher. Everything seems so different. The students are dressed like they're straight from late 90s music videos, and everyone has a flip phone or a Walkman. Also, everyone is making eye contact when they speak to each other. It's so weird. She also comes across a shocking sight. Her late sister Summer is chatting with her friends Brian and Val. All of them were murdered decades ago. Nonetheless, Lucy heads to the lab and meets her physics teacher, who seems to have become younger. He doesn't recognize her, so she introduces herself as a new student and asks about his thoughts on time travel. But the teacher tells her to take help from Quinn, who is a physics geek. Quinn, who is also in the lab, then explains how time travel is possible. But it is a bad idea, as it could create unseen effects in the future. That afternoon, Lucy notices a group of boys cornering Quinn in the school hallway and carrying him outside. Turns out, the seniors throw someone into a nearby river as a school tradition. Today it is poor Quinn's turn, and the entire school is gathered to witness the spectacle. However, Lucy intervenes and saves them by shoving one of the bullies down to the ground. The commotion attracts the attention of the teacher, who soon arrives and breaks up the gathered crowd. All right, let me help throw this geek into the river. Now, after her heroics, Lucy takes Quinn to the side and reveals that she is from the future. He is skeptical at first, but eventually believes her when she shows him her smartphone, which is clearly very advanced for 2003. Lucy then takes Quinn to the barn and shows him the time machine that threw her into this era. Gosh, come on, I thought my PS2 was cool. It is not working for some reason, so if they load it into Quinn's van and bring it to his garage. While inspecting the machine, they notice that it was developed by a company called Sonner. Also find an empty canister lodged within, and assume that they need one of these for the machine to work. Lucy states that they can get it, as her dad works at the Sonner facility. Elsewhere, Summer and her best friend Emmy are having a heated confrontation, but we don't have the reason why. Back at the garage, Lucy realizes that it is April 16th today. 2 days before her sister was murdered. She asks Quinn if she should change the past, but he explains that anything she does will change the future drastically. Hence, they decide that the best course of action would be for Lucy to return back to her time soon as possible. Shortly afterwards, they arrive in front of Summer's house, where Lucy reveals that she wants to steal a key card from her dad. Upon hearing this, it finally dawns on Quinn that she is actually Summer's sister. He warns her that it's dangerous to interact with her family, but Lucy insists that it's the only way they can get into the Sonner facility. Moments later, they approach Summer and Quinn hands over her calculus homework. It turns out that he often does her assignments because he has a huge crush on her, and he simps like a daddy. I don't know what that meant. Summer then asks if he can help her with chemistry, but he lies about being busy. He instead uses this opportunity to introduce her to Lucy, saying that she's great at science and excited. Summer then takes Lucy inside the house and introduces her to her parents. That evening, while the girls are conversing, Lucy notices Summer's photo with Brian and Val and asks if they have been friends for a long time. Summer responds that they're childhood friends and wishes she and Lucy could go to the mall so that she can introduce her to them. At this moment, Lucy remembers that today is the day Brian and Val will get murdered. In the mall, he asks Summer what time the mall closes, and the latter responds that it's at 9. Realizing there's only half an hour left, Lucy abruptly leaves the house and goes straight to the mall. She reaches there just in time and comes across Quinn, who does part-time work here. Lucy inquires about Val and Brian, to which Quinn reveals that he heard them talking about going to a store on the 3rd floor. This makes Lucy panic, so she immediately rushes there, followed by Quinn. Unfortunately, they arrive too late, as the Sweetly slasher has already murdered Brian. Lucy tries to help Val in escaping, and even alerts a nearby security guard, but the killer easily kills him, before smashing Val's head and ending her life. Till now, he is the Sweetly smasher. The aftermath of this event, Lucy and Quinn head to his house, where he lets her stay for the night. As they discuss their next move, it suddenly dawns on Lucy that the security guard wasn't supposed to die. This means that she is making things worse by trying to alter the past. Hence, she decides to return to 2024 before she can mess things up even more. The next morning, Lucy wakes up very early and sneaks into her house. She wants to get her dad's key card to break into the sauna facility, but she's caught by Summer, who wants to know what's happening. She's confused about why Lucy abruptly left for the mall last night, especially now that her friends are dead, left with no other options. Lucy finally reveals that she's her sister and has come from the future. To prove her point, she brings out the letter from Ethan, claiming she found it under the floorboards. Back in her timeline, however, Summer says that she has never seen the letter before. This frustrates Lucy, and she ends up leaving the house without explaining any further. Later that day, Summer arrives at school and opens her locker, where she suddenly finds a letter. She opens it up and is shocked to realize that it is the exact same letter as Lucy had given her earlier. Meanwhile, Lucy and Quinn learn that a matter and its antimatter must come into collision to cause a time rip. They have the matter labeled as particle A, while the antimatter labeled as particle B is all used up. Physics for fucking idiots. They now need to obtain it to make the time machine work again. As the duo is working on the machine, Summer shows up unexpectedly. She says that she now believes in the whole time travel thing and wants to know everything about the ongoing murders. Balassi, who doesn't want her sister to know her fate, reluctantly reveals that Amy will die tonight. This causes Summer to panic, and she says that they have to save her at any cost. Lucy argues that they can't change the past without making things worse. However, when her sister continues to insist, she eventually agrees following this. The trio arms themselves with weapons and travels to the Marine Museum, where Amy works the night shift. They soon arrive there and decide to split up to look for her. Moments later, Summer notices the killer slowly sneaking behind an unsuspecting Amy. She rushes towards the spot, unfortunately manages to pull her friend away. The two of them run for their lives, locking a door behind them just as the killer breaks through the door. Both Quinn and Lucy join the two girls and manage to escape unscathed. Later at home, while the sisters are chatting, Lucy learns that the letter signed E is actually from Amy. Summer then opens up, revealing that she and Amy are lovers and had promised to come out to their parents together, but she backed out at the last moment, which is why Amy was upset. Earlier that night, a restless Lucy realizes that her parents only conceived her because their first child had died. This means that if Summer survives, she may no longer exist in the future. I'm sure her parents will still have sex. The very next morning, Lucy steals her dad's key card and exits the house. She later meets with her sister and finally reveals about her eventual death. She also explains how she won't exist in the future of Summer lives. But Lucy has now decided to save her anyway. As their parents only saw Lucy as a replacement, the two sisters then come up with a plan to eat and kill the Sweetly slasher. I guess Summer doesn't give a damn if Lucy dies. In the evening, Lucy and Quinn sneak into the sauna facility, while Summer heads to the barn party where she's supposed to die. She spends some time at the party and then steps outside, just as she had hoped for the serial killer to chase her. Meanwhile, Quinn and Lucy manage to sneak inside the facility, but are shocked to discover the dead body of a security guard. One of the canisters containing antimatter is also missing, which means that the killer came here before them. They deduce that the killer must be from the future as well, and is the one who developed the time machine. Now the time is running out. Duo takes a canister and quickly leaves. Elsewhere, Summer leads the killer in a game of cat and mouse, and eventually takes him to the shed. She bravely waits for him to take a slash at her, but just then help arrives. Lucy and Quinn show up in a van and run over the serial killer. Summer then rushes inside the car, and they get away just as the lunatic is getting up. In a shocking turn of events, the Sweetly slasher removes his mask and reveals himself to be an older Quinn. From the future, the trio is shocked to witness this, but they have no time to ponder. They thus put the car in reverse and drive back to the garage where the time machine is located. Unfortunately, Killer Quinn also shows up before the teenagers can activate the time machine. He then reveals how his life was ruined after the bullies threw him into the river. Oh man, Summer, whom he had a crush on, simply watched and laughed at the event. So when he became an adult, he built the time machine to take revenge on his bullies, dude. Just as the killer is distracted in his speech, Lucy activates the time machine. She then grabs Psycho Quinn and pulls both of them into the time rep. The two land in a parking garage and immediately get into an intense fight. Psycho Quinn lunges at her with a knife, but Lucy gains the upper hand by electrocuting him with a card charger. She then stabs him with a nearby knife, finally ending the saga of the Sweetly slasher. In the aftermath of this event, Lucy uses the time machine to go back to 2024, but just as she had theorized earlier, her existence has been erased from her former life. This means that her parents don't recognize her anymore, and she has no place to stay. Why didn't she just find Summer and get her to explain shit? Also, didn't her dad work on the time machine? Wouldn't he understand? Lucy thus returns back to 2003 to start a new life with her sister and her new best friend Quinn. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get a job writing movies.